Yes, that is actually a fair question, chat. It's something we didn't mention. When they pick up a key, it'll tell them where the key belongs.
Looks like we're getting started, and we're already seeing different starting positions. Zyrek opting to open from Sanctuary, probably headed into Kakariko Village. Pikapals doing a more standard Link's House opening into Uncle.
Yeah. This lets them check the poultry as well as get a couple of free items. And today the early poultry is arrows. Not too useful right now because obviously we don't have a bow, but could come into play later.
Yep, it's one of those nice details that you should remember.
Oh, the Hoarder Crabs have full magic. Very nice pickup. And the old man has a map to the Tower of Hera, so we already have information on one of our dungeons should Zyrek check. And we just have a Shield Aga.
Safe to say that one will not be collected today.
Yeah. And if you haven't seen Link to the Past Randomizer, shields, old swords, all those upgradable items, those are progressive. So we'll always find the weakest one first, which is why that shield was a little discolored. But as we pick up more and more, they'll get stronger and stronger. So if Zyrek runs into another shield out in the wild, that will become the fire shield there at Aga. And speaking of fire...
Speaking of Aga, the lamp itself, well, does not have too many early implications. It could be Eastern Palace's Dark Rooms, or it could be... Ooh, those are the gloves.
We just got the Death Out of Care package right here in the Lost Woods.
Yeah, they couldn't even get to that before he got the gloves. Now, unfortunately, that's still just 2 item spots on Death Mountain and 1 to check, but it's a start.
Yeah. And of course they go and get the restart point as well from saving the old man.
Yep, that's probably the best place you can spawn when you have the flute.
Of course, for all we know, the flute could be in Dark World. Well, we will need it at some point because Misery Mire is a required dungeon, even if it's not a crystal. And there's the Smoky to Swamp! And a green potion as well.
Is the most important small key in the entire seed too.
Yeah. Because that singular small key locks an entire dungeon.
For most dungeons, you're looking for a big key, because that locks at least half of it, but for Swamp, it's the small key that makes or breaks the game.
Yeah. And there's going to be a lot of Palace of Darkness keys. There's a total of 6 in the pool. And each one of them just unlocks just a little bit more of the dungeon. But if you know the hammer jump technique, which is a double pixel perfect bomb jump, you can get away with 4. Wow, we already have Titan's Bits?
3 minutes into the seed.
He was being generous. And the big key to Mire.
Just an overall nice find.
Yeah, it is required though. Another big key. Tower of Hera.
So with that, they could actually get to Moldorm once they can enter Hera, but can't beat him.
That's right, no weapon. And wow, that was a very generous merchant.
It's a money tripling scheme.
I would say an immediate return on your investment, more so.
Zyrek opting to buy bombs because he ran out of them, very conscious of the fact that he'll need a few more to check all of the Sphere 1 locations.
And yes, as a reminder, folks, this is all dungeons. All 7 crystals are required, all 3 pendants are required, and both versions of Aga are required. The tower, the Ganon Tower, and Aga Tower.
You will have to defeat a grand total of 13 bosses in order to get the Triforce in this seed.
14 if somehow there's something behind the Ice Armos.
Oh, I did not even count Ganon's Tower bosses, but yeah, you're right.
It doesn't? That's my bad then. Map on library.
Safe to assume they'll never get that.
Yeah. There are 2 junk maps in which they don't give you any information. There's a net.
Yep, the Ganon's Tower and the Hyrule Castle maps are absolutely useless. On the other hand, this is just all dungeons, so most maps are going to be useless because at the end of the day, you're just going to want to clear whatever you can.
That is true. However, once again, the 3 important dungeons would be Green Pendant as well as the 5-6 crystals. So having information on them is always nice. And of course, knowing where your crystals are so that you can piece together what might be in Ganon's Tower.
Especially like these runners will talk to Sahashala as soon as they get there, and to the bomb shop guy as soon as Darkhold is open to get that information.
Yes. Because Sahashala is one of the bomb vendor in Dark World. They're nice enough to tell you not only in let me start that over. They're nice enough in that they not only tell you which dungeon of the Green Pendant and the 5-6 crystals respectively, they also mark them on your map for you.
Big Key of T-Rock, well, that also opens one half of the dungeon.
Yeah. Wow, those mini Moldorms actually dodging that bomb, and now Pikapals needs to do a 2-for-1. And they cooperate. Very good recovery there.
Oh, very nicely done.
And rewarded with the Moon Pearl.
So, at 7 minutes, that's Darkhold access for us then.
Yeah, but it's not really an ideal Darkhold access, is it? Because we only have the portal near Kakariko Village. And we still have a fair amount of checks left in the overworld as well for Light World.
Yep, we have Sashana's Closet, the Ice Rod Cave with the gloves. You can get to Zora. So, yeah, there's a fair number of item locations that you could still do.
Yeah, we can even get most of the items in Eastern.
That's also true. And in fact, Eastern Palace is not just a 3-item dungeon in a Key Sanity Seed, it's a 6-chest dungeon.
That's right. Although 2 of those chests are locked behind the big key. Because we can't obviously open the big chest without it, and we can't actually get to Armos to fight him for his item until we have the big key as well as the bow.
So meantime, our runners diverged quite a bit. Zyrek opting to check. Ice Rod Cave is rewarded with 5 rupees only, unfortunately. Pikapals heading straight into the Darkhold with that access, and it looks like he's going to dip Skull Woods first.
So that's in chat. Isn't there a guaranteed big bomb under the big rock to the left of Fortune Teller? Yes, it is, but those are not rocks you can lift. Those are rocks you need to dash into. There is a 50-50 in the pile of small rocks, though, just on the path to the right.
In the meantime, Zyrek farming 20 rupees at a time from this cave right here, so that he'll have 500 rupees to check Zora.
And there's a small key to Ganon's Tower, 1 of 4.
Although with conscious routing, 2 are enough to full clear the entire dungeon.
Yeah. Third one will be nice just in case you go full right. And hey, a sword! Not bad for Pikapals there.
It's a very nice find in Skull Woods, and in fact, he probably is really happy to see a weapon at this point, because he is in the Dark World with 3 hearts.
Yeah, just some way of defending yourself against the Taros here. And unfortunately, one of them is very angry.
All gods in red will aggro you as soon as you see them on screen.
And they're kind of beefy too for fighter sword standards. And there we have our first compass. Compasses are not too useful in Key Sanity. They just give you basically an item checklist for the dungeons, giving you how many items you found out of 10. Hello there, Fire Rod. Or is that ice? I couldn't exactly tell with the coloration.
I want to say it was fire.
Yeah, we'll go with fire.
I mean, with that, and with the sword in Skullwood's Morphulus technically open, although very much not recommended with their current health situation.
Chad is saying it's the ice rod, actually.
Nice. We'll know as soon as Zyrek opens his menu.
Yeah, we'll know for sure. It was just a weird shading, I feel.
Well, sequence breaks a boot and the big key of Thief's Stand, both huge finds at this point in the game.
That's right, you can easily just dash over to Zora as well.
And of course the information value of the back of Thief's Stand cannot lock the flippers.
And someone actually checked the VOD, it was Ice Rod. Alright, thank you, chat. And a big key to Ice Palace found there as well.
Well, that is kind of bad after that really great return of investment from the bottle vendor.
And we got the actual fire rod that was in Thieves Town. Pikapals picking that up, so we know where both of our rods are. And Zyrek's gonna follow those sequence broken boots and see what else he can find.
Was that his very first heart piece? I did not count.
It's at least one of his first 4. Digging now for Pikapals. And back of escape for Zyrek. Big key to Skull? Not really required. Big key to Dark, that was important. And the Cane of Samaria. Lots of value for Zyrek in the back of escape. That was something they actually did have access to.
Yep, both of those gloves would have been enough to unlock it. Well, they have both. Now, that's huge value in the front of this seed, but there's one thing really coming to mind here. You have access to Death Mountain. You have both rods, and you have the Cane of Samaria. Early Turtle Rock.
With what medallion and with what hammer?
I mean, of course, but we are getting very close to it.
Also, with what hookshot or mirror to get over to the east side of Death Mountain to begin with.
I mean, I did not say that it was a full set yet, but we are getting close to it.
Yeah, in terms of dungeon clearing, we have everything we need for Turtle Rock combined. We're just missing a few key pieces to actually get over to Turtle Rock. Alright, Hive Cave Chick coming up for Pikapals here. And Zyrek is now in the Dark World as well. Starting off the map, Dark Palace. Okay. A heart container. That's actually our first one. Comes against Tower and a small key to Dark Palace.
It's not terribly interesting, but the small key to Dark Palace is definitely very nice to have.
Yeah,
You will need at least 4 in order to complete the dungeon, and even then your routing is extremely awkward.
Yeah. And in the case of 4, you need to, of course, do the hammer jump trick. And also have the bow so you can just skip the front door.
In fact, you need to dip the bow sight 3 times in order to fully clear the dungeon at that point.
Yeah, so ideally you would want 5 small keys if you know how to do the trick, just to save yourself a little bit of time.
And of course, go ahead.
Otherwise, you would just need all 6.
Yep, the logic expects you to have 6 for a fair number of chests. Everything in the Dark Maze is locked behind 6 keys. Harmless Hellway is locked behind 6 keys, and the Vanilla Big Key chest is locked behind 6 keys, and so is Helmsaw.
Yeah, and that's all because of the order of the keys you use. Matters quite a lot in Palace of Darkness.
In key logic, it does play a very heavy role in how you want to route things in Key Sanity due to this fact, because the game still accounts for you to misuse your keys.
Yeah. It does not account for key stealing, though, I think. Or no, that is misusing them, isn't it?
Yep, and that is why you require the Desert Palace small key logically to access land molars.
Yeah, because you can steal the key and then check the front half. Which I don't think either runner is going to be doing today, considering it is all dungeons.
And it's very, very rarely worth locking yourself out of land molars potentially just to check 2 chests.
And we have a question: what is stealing a small key? Alright, so basically there are, even though we've shuffled all the keys that are found in chests, there's still some that you can find under pots or even on guards. And what you can do is you can take that small key and use it somewhere else in the dungeon. So in the case of Desert Palace, there's a small key in a pot in the first tile room of the backside. We can take that small key, take it to the front, and unlock the side door to the 2 items. But then we don't have that small key to use to get to Lamolas.
Yep, the devs for most part intended you to use every key that you find in a very specific location. Now, in Rando, that can break down a whole lot.
Breaks down even more if this was retro mode, but one of our 2 runners here, I don't know who, vetoed it. The other one vetoing hard difficulty. Those were the vetoes for this race, by the way. This is a game 3 between these 2.
Zyrek finished Upwood School Woods, checked Bumper Cave, and is now headed to Thieves Town himself and Village of Outcasts.
Meanwhile,
picking up...
Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off there.
He'll be picking up the Fire Rod shortly.
And meanwhile, Pikapals picked up the blue mail from Agina.
That is a very nice find considering this dreadful, dreadful heart situation, but that's key sanity for you, because if you introduce more and more items into the general pool, well, heart containers get forced into awkward locations. Oh no. Zyrek cannot afford to play the treasure chest game.
Actually, we're getting a little bit of a fun fact in chat. Apparently, these are the same ratings that Pikachu chose for their second match, and the bot decided to just roll this exact settings again. That's actually hilarious.
It makes sense because it's one of the more popular modes that this was chosen, because this is the combination that minimizes variance the most and just emphasizes execution. With this mode, you somewhat have to worry about routing, but you won't be hurt as bad by an outlier item, because you have to clear everything anyway.
Makes sense to me. So we have Pikapals changing safe. Zyrek's about to stumble onto the fire rod here.
And the big key of Ice Palace, which, while not necessarily required with the bomb jump, is a nice thing to have so that you can stop worrying about the big chest.
So, where does the sea want us to go with a fire rod, a sword, a lamp, and the Titan's mitts?
The lamp is probably the biggest thing about this, because it opens both the 2 item locations on Death Mountain, and the big key chest of Eastern Palace.
Yeah.
As well as dark sewers from the front, which Pika's about to check.
Yeah. I'm feeling like there's something in like Sphere 1 that we're missing here. Like a key piece of progression.
It could be sitting in Sahasra's closet.
Yeah. I don't know exactly what, but I'm thinking like maybe the hammer's there, maybe a second sword so we can check the Aghanim 1 chest. Or at least one of them.
It does make sense, though, that the runners are currently avoiding that area a bit, because you'd be entering Eastern Palace and leaving 2 chests in there. Meanwhile, we get a not too useful hint, which indicates that a bottle that we already picked up was in Minimordum Cave.
Which we already checked by both runners. Thanks, game.
In fact, you needed to get the Moon Pearl from the very same cave to get here at all.
Yeah, the hint system is far from perfect. And that was definitely one of the junk hints. Nice spin on the buzzes there.
So that was the very first chest that Pikapals could not open in Thieves' Town because he did not sequence break the big key. And on that note, Zyrek is definitely sequence breaking right now because the big key was Flipper's locked.
And our green pendant is in Desert Palace today. And something else to note here, we've been listening to for a while. Zyrek's been listening to the music here in the dungeon, but can't rely on the music to tell you if this is a pendant or crystal. We randomized that in Key Sanity.
Yep, in Key Sanity, your only sure way to know if a dungeon is a crystal or a pendant if you beat it or if you find the map. Or if an NPC tells you about it for 3 out of 10 dungeons. To answer the question in chat, no map checks because I think the runners are not particularly worried about which dungeon is a crystal or a pendant right now. Since this is all dungeons, you're going to have to beat it anyway, so you may as well leave that map check for when you plan to go to Gans.
And Pikapals finding the magic powder there in the first chest here of Eastern Palace.
Meanwhile, a beautiful blind fight.
Yeah. And Blind has a map to Swamp, and Blind's dungeon is a crystal.
A mildly discolored crystal, because if you pick up a dungeon item that brings up a text box in Key Sanity as the boss prize, then your crystal will be slightly yellowish.
Yeah, it also applies to menus. We'll need to see the menus, speaking of which, to tell if that was a 5/6 or a normal crystal. But it's still a crystal all the same for Zyrek. First of our crystals on the board.
Oh no, Zyrek is actually farming for 2 rupee drops from these bushes so he can finally check the treasure chest game. There's 1. And there's 2.
And we just got a hint there. for the Cannon Burna. I unfortunately did not read the full hint.
It was in T-Rock, and we also picked up a Palace of Darkness key in Eastern Palace. So now Zyrek is heading to do the same checks as Pikapals did, taking the Smith for a world tour, although with boots, so it's going to be a slight bit faster.
Yeah.
Peak, meanwhile, entering that lamp lock section in the back of Eastern Palace, which, again, could be something because we are missing some sort of progression, but it's just a small key to Ganon's Tower.
Yeah.
It's not immediately useful.
Yeah. We've had a question chat, by the way. What are the records for these two against each other? Zyrek is down 2 games against Pikapals. And if you missed the story at the start of this race, the story here is that Zyrek is in a pretty much a must-win scenario to have a shot at bracket stages in Group H. Pikapals is looking to get a better position in the 3-way tie that he is a part of, along with Bonta and GFE.
It's a complete 3-way tie. The max scores against each other are also tied. So if nothing changes, then there's a 3-way tiebreaker in the cards for them.
Yes. And so basically Zyrek here is trying to fight for a shot to be in that group as well. Misery Mire and Thieves Town. So Thieves Town was one of our 5-6.
Looks like Pikapals' headed back to school was to check the big chest for now. I wonder if this is going to go to a fairly low percent Mafia.
I made it good. Moth could have a progression for all we know.
I'm surprised that neither of these runners have so far climbed Death Mountain. At some point you will have to do it anyway, so getting that spawn point isn't necessarily a time loss, even if the 2 items turn out to be not that great. But it is 2 items that we've had access to for quite a while.
Yeah, there's a lot of items we've had access to, but those are the only ones we haven't checked between both our runners, I believe.
You could sequence break 4 chests out of Ice Palace at this point. That's the best I could come up with. I think it's the only 2 items. And Morphula, of course. And the chest under the bridge near Morphula.
I say this is Moth. The scene is basically telling us to go fight the Moth at this point.
That is an extremely cruel implication, though. 5 hearts, Blue Mail tops, Fighter Sword.
Yeah. And even then, the Blue Mail doesn't help much because most of the damage you're going to be taking is the spikes, which don't care about your armor level.
That is true.
Now they do have 2 potions here, and or 2 bottles here, so one of them was a green potion, so Pikapals should be able to just use the fire rod to great effect here.
And I believe the other one was a B, which honestly just hurts more than helps.
Kinda, yeah. Time between them is real quick, just to check.
Very nice use of fire rod shots there, giving Morphula no time to react, but he only gets a small key. But it's the castle tower, which could come in handy soon.
That is the first of our 2 castle tower keys, and I just realized something. Early Aga might still be a thing.
for access to the Palace of Darkness area, for which you require either flippers or
the hammer, or defeating Aghanim and unlocking the portal.
Or with the boots that you can sequence break, you can use a water walking miner glitch to get over and skip the Aga requirement.
You could, yeah.
You can also use the bug net that we did find to catch a ferry and use a ferry revival glitch to get over.
Yeah, but in terms of on logic, it is just a hammer, that is just the flippers, and it's the Aga clear. Those are the only 3 ways.
That is true. Zyrek with another nice modular fight. This is not an easy fight, so kudos to both runners for completing it fairly cleanly.
Yeah. Shows them just how good of execution they are and how much more we have to go, because that's just... Well, the second boss for Zyrek, out of all of the bosses that have to be lit up on that tracker.
In the meantime, Pikapals is heading up to Death Mountain, so we'll finally get the checks on those 2 items that we haven't seen yet. And I do firmly believe it has to be something now.
Yeah. It has to be something like the cape or the Master Sword, I feel, if we want to see any items from Aga Tower.
It could also be flippers, which would open up Ice Palace for 4 chests.
And it also puts those boots in logic.
That is also true.
Alright, so in terms of the logic of that between our runners, we have everything corrected now.
On the other hand, I cannot imagine that Zyrek will be happy to find that, considering what he knows is
Oh
that...
no!
Oh, that's the hammer.
The hammer is mirror locked. Where's our mirror now?
They can't imagine
Oh, there
that.
it is. We're fine.
Wow, that didn't last long.
I bet you expected help, didn't you?
you know
that hit is the capstone right there to that whole scenario.
Meanwhile, very nicely executed bomb jump there to shorten the time it takes to get out of Spectacle Rock Cave a little bit.
So yeah, there we go. The sea's now wide open for Pikapals.
Remember when I mentioned 2 item locations? Well, Death Mountain was the play. This is completely stacked.
The hint, folks, was just a joke hint, but it said I bet you expected help, didn't you? And it was right next to the mirror, which after we just saw the hammer on Spectacle Rock.
And so with that mirror and hammer, Arrow Pharaoh is right there, and they're looking at a fairly easy Mordon fight. Now, we just got a hint for a sword on Graveyard Lane.
Sharper sword above the pose. Well, that's available to Pikapals. And with the hammer and the mirror, East Death Mountain is available.
Yeah, this seat just blew wide open, didn't it?
And the red mail. The piece art requires the cape. The only thing that the cape hard requires is, I think that just tells you exactly what's on bumper edge.
That is correct. Since you can bypass the Aga barrier with a Master Sword, and in fact, in inverted, you don't even need a cape or a sword to get into Aga Tower. That cannot indicate something for Aga Tower.
Yeah, I studied the hints the other day, and one of them that stood out to me was there's one that says requires the bow.
Go on.
They went into more detail, and the only bowl application that is consistent across all modes is Helmstar Keg.
That is correct. Randomizer could, in fact, switch out the enemies in Eastern Palace so that they're not bow-locked.
That's right, but Bow's only hard requirement in terms of dungeons is the statue. Zyrek, you're kind of forgetting something there, buddy.
That won't work with your current item set, unfortunately. Yes, the barrier hurts if you walk up to it.
This scene was basically just saying, hey, go to the woods, go to the mountain. And if you listen, you got rewarded very nicely.
You're absolutely right. All of the items in Lost Woods were progression, all of the items on West Death Mountain were progression.
Well, here's the thing. All the items in Lost Woods were Death Mountain progression. That was Beast Heart on the boss. And all the items on the mountain were extra pieces of Darkhold progression after we found the Moon Pearl. With the exception of the Titan's which were in Kakariko Village.
I firmly believe at this point that this seed is what we call front-loaded.
Yeah.
So I guess it's worth noting that since we picked up that hammer too, Ice Pass is fully unlocked. Logically you still need keys, but you can get neatly around that.
Yeah. Of course, I don't think they're gonna go to ice just yet. Ideally, they would like a better sword or a means to kill the Pengators really quickly. Because right now, the only thing that instant kills them is bombs, and you kind of want to conserve your bomb resource there in Ice Palace.
I mean, statistically speaking, at this point, East Death Mountain could be that solution that they're looking for, but everything on East Death Mountain should be hearts. Again, statistically speaking. You've got all the items. Ooh, Zyrek hovering the gap, but unfortunately, halfway through, he falls down.
Well, heated desert. That's another important one.
Now, you only need to be able to get into that dungeon at this point, which could be solved by both book and flute.
Okay, we have something interesting here. We've just found the shovel on Pikapals End. On the map to Eastern. And the flute!
Well then.
Alright, we have access to Misery Mire. We can actually full clear too!
We need a medallion to enter though.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it'll just be on the front door like it always is.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a Maya shed at this point. I am now convinced that it is a unicorn 90 minutes all dungeon ski sanity seed.
I'm expecting at least another curveball or two.
At this point, it's very likely to be the bow.
Yeah, we haven't seen the bow at all yet. It's probably also in Turtle Rock here. We're gonna see what's inside because Pikapals is gonna at least check the medallion here. And it is Bombos to enter Turtle Rock.
So that will be required to complete this seed. So at this point in time, Zyrek has had the boot for about 30 minutes longer than Pikapals. Pikapals does not even have it yet. I'm interested to see how this will work out in their final time.
Yeah, another small key to Turtle Rock found by Pikapals, and not even gonna check hookshot key, but then again, does not have the boots to check the first chest, which could have the hookshot for all we know. That is in logic.
And if Zyrek does attempt it, he could hover the gap and check all 4 chests. We've seen that he is capable of hovering. It's all a question of determination now.
Yeah, in case anyone's wondering how the 1 chest and hookshot key is required, or is in logic, boots jumping. That's actually taken into consideration. Just deliberately bonking to jump over pits.
Bonking is, in fact, an intended mechanism, as opposed to things like bomb jumps.
Yeah. It's not that well known, but that's how you get to a restock room in Ganon's Tower.
Yep, that is probably the most prominent use of it, or example of it. So
it's the only example I can think of which the devs don't expect you to use it.
It could have made for some interesting puzzles, that's for sure.
Yeah, especially when the boots were so early.
Pikapals is headed to pick up his ice rod, shortly followed by the big key to Thieves Town and the boots in Waterfall Fairy Cave. Zyrek's clearing East Death Mountain as Pika already has. Now, the one advantage he'll get here is at least 1 chest from Hookshot Cave, which could be potentially huge.
That's right. There's the ice rod now for Pikapals. So both runners are slowly catching up in terms of item progression. So
Go ahead.
So we know that the blue cane is in Turtle Rock. Now the question is that our intended first invincibility item, or is it the cape and Burna's on Laser Bridge?
That is a very good question, and the logic could intend you to go to Aghanim instead to get that shield from Lumberjack.
Well, that really depends on if we find the other 2 shields, but yeah, I can see that as well. So Pikapals is about to get scammed by King Zora, but might pick up that heart container on the way out.
I could see that, because once again, we are 43 minutes into a normal mode seed. You'd expect to have some health by now, but they're still on 6 hearts.
Yeah. Which, for Pikapals, that's a lot of health, considering Pikapals also on red mail.
For Zyrek, it's a little less because he's on blue.
Yeah.
And of course, we've seen that they don't really need it because, well, taking 1 or 2 damage tops on Morphula when beating him is quite impressive on its own.
Yeah. And just in case anyone is unfamiliar with how the mails work, blue mail is a half damage reduction, and the red mail is another half damage reduction on top of the blue mail. So or 75% if you run into it. It on its own.
Yep, the game actually keeps track of your health on a more granular basis as well. So you'll see sometimes runners don't take damage from something while in red mail. They do actually take 0.25 damage, I believe.
Yes.
Which does not show on the life meter, and they can still use sword beams. But if they take damage again from the very same thing, they'll of course lose half a heart.
Yeah, there's basically quarter hearts in this game that they don't show. That's the best way to describe it. Which is really weird why they had that mechanic in the first place, but I'm not gonna question them. This is an old game.
Ooh.
Oh! Was that? Which medallion was that? That was
That
Bombos!
was Bombos. Right there for Turtle Rock.
What did I say about the key, the Turtle Rock key being left in front of the door?
That was Misery Maya, but I get your point. Zyrek attempting to hover that gap. Don't quit. You know you need that.
Different dungeon, same thing though, because now Zyrek can fully enter Turtle Rock and clear it.
Meanwhile, on Pika's side, we're seeing another new check, which is Maya Shed, but he did not check the Maya Medallion yet.
I mean, it makes sense. Doesn't have a medallion to begin with. But might want that information for later.
In terms of routing, it would have been better to check it before you go in, so if you don't find it in Maya Shed, you would, you know, save and quit. But of course, yeah, he's right here, he's going to go to Desert. My bad.
And we will get our first look into Turtle Rock.
So if there's something in Turtle Rock right here, the sequence break that Zyrek did is going to pay out very, very handsomely, especially if it's something like the hook shot, because that would mean that Pika has like one chest. Big Cave of Evil's Bane requires the hammer, by the way. That's a few spots.
Yeah, that's a few spots.
So if there's something in TR, and especially if it's the hookshot, well, Pika does not have a big incentive to go back for one chest in Hookshot Cave, which holds the key to TR.
And Zyrek can't go far here in Turtle Rock, but with that singular small key. Can't even leave the first floor, but he can at least get the chain shot for him. Speaking of singular items. Hello, singular arrow.
It's unique.
It is, for the sake of hints. I think it's the only resource pickup that is unique as well.
Yep, there's 2 single rupee pickups, so that's not unique. But for some reason, the progressive gloves are unique.
Yeah. For some reason, progressive gloves are unique, as well as the fact that the single 100 rupee stash and the single 10 bomb pack are not unique. And apparently boomerangs are also unique as well. Bokomador and a compass to Eastern Palace.
That's not yet too big. And funnily enough, it will usher Zyrek to make a similar play to Pika, where the Scream Seeds go to Desert. Even though we did not really find too much in.
Book does not open anything up on its own.
We need at least another sword. Oh no! Zyrek desperately trying to catch that fairy, but he does come back.
Gonna reset the room now. Meanwhile, Pyramid Shack here. This is something we haven't seen just yet. And it's a small key. To Skull Woods, which we've already cleared. Alright.
It's a completely useless item, but he can go to Palace of Darkness from here. First he'll go to Catfish, seems like.
Yeah.
But I would be surprised if he didn't dip hard right here.
Yeah, it makes sense to go to Catfish because right now Catfish is a very isolated check. So if you're in the area, you might as well do it. Eat the tablet. Bombs.
You know, one of the interesting things to see in Palace of Darkness would be a second sword to combo with that book. At this point we just saw that Ether Tablet is not important, but Bombo's Tablet still could.
That is true. A far more likely thing to find, though, is... Oh, wow, this is risky from Zyrek.
He took 2 fairies for this. This play makes a lot of sense, because he's right here, it would be hard to accomplish otherwise. On the other hand, it's not in logic.
Yeah.
I mean, while chat pointing out very fairly, we missed a hint in T-Rock that the Swamp Vicky is behind a bomb. Or is it the big bomb?
No, it's just the regular bomb, so...
Just a bomb. Alright, well... We know it's all Graveyard Ledge because that's a sword.
Yeah. And Zyrek will most likely be heading to Darkhold now to check it. As far as something that is bomb locked that we haven't checked yet... Well, first off, we don't need to do that. Requires a bomb could mean that it's... Oh, jeez, I can't even think of it. Probably...
Nope, I'm drawing a blank.
Same here. I can't think of anything that we've already checked.
Chat saying Rando Room. That is absolutely right. Rando Room does require...
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if that counts as Ingan's Tower for generic. But hints have had double sources before. For some reason, Zora and Catfish both have grumpy fish and sleep with the fishes.
Do you remember where the sword hint was? Was it in Tower of Hera?
I believe yes it was. So Zyrek will be checking that right now.
Yeah. It's interesting to see that Pika did not go to collect this sword before dipping ice, because it would make his life a lot easier. I guess he's confident, although he has to be mindful of the fact that he needs to use his entire magic bar to break the ice on Cold Stare.
Yeah, which isn't ideal. A unique item requires the hammer. That's hammer pegs, isn't it?
Hammer pegs could be it. Yes, I am not sure. There's a bunch of Swamp Palace that's locked behind hammer. That could be it. And we don't even know if that unique item is particularly useful, although we know that it's not the Cannon Burner. I guess if the hint could refer to Turtle Rock, it could be. But other than that, we don't have a whole lot of unique items left that aren't good.
No. Except for maybe the bow, we have yet to find that. And of course the medallions as well are also unique items.
So Pika entering the valuable part of Ice Palace. We're about to find out if this area holds some sort of progression. Since T-Rock wasn't it, I am very much inclined to believe that there will be something here.
Yeah, let's see. Small heated dark.
And that's the fourth one that we picked up, so with that, if you had the bow, you could route in 13 out of 14 chests. Since we don't have that, you'd be forced to open the front door if you enter. Unless you use a potion 3 times to bypass that. There's the Silvers in Ice Palace.
Nah, he's fine.
Map of Ganon's Tower from the Dick Spot, though. That is the least useful map, tied with the Hyrule Castle map. Because obviously these dungeons don't have a dungeon prize.
So yeah, requires the hammer. I actually pulled up an information thing. Does consider Camden's Tower, does consider Ice Palace, does consider Swamp, and the Thieves Town Big Chest as well, in terms of dungeon locations.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot about that one too. Good point. In the meantime, Pika picked up a hint in Ice Palace saying that Sahashala only has cash, so that green pendant will not be relevant in this.
Yeah, and actually requires a bomb. Ignia, which we checked. Backup line hideout, which we checked. Kakariko, which we checked. Yeah, random room counts. We actually haven't checked Ice Rock Cave, and that counts too.
We did. It was 5 rupees.
Okay. And one other location that thing that requires a bomb is second chest and swamp. Big Key Games Tower.
Right there.
Requires the hammer.
Does that count as a unique item? I don't think it does.
No, but we did have a hint for Ganon's Tower Big Key, if you recall.
Yep. Now, Zyrek is about to turn in his purple chest, which we found a hint for in the entrance room of Ice Palace, and I believe it said some arrow. Meanwhile, Pikapals entering the Cold Stare fight. With the fighter sword, he's going to be using Fire Rod strats, which does gold sword damage to the Cold Stab Puffs.
Yeah. They also tend to bunch up, so you can easily get a couple of free hits in.
It's worth noting that he can only hit Cold Stab with spins here because he's immune to fighter sword damage, so he instead uses hammer to deal tempered damage instead.
Someone says, don't you need bow to finish Missing Wire? You do not need the bow to finish Missing Wire, although it is nice to have against the boss.
Third sword on Bombo's tablet.
Nice find there.
That also means that that T-Rock dip was premature, because that's all the value that the book provided.
Well, the sword is still a nice find regardless. And it's
That's
ether to get into Misery Mire, it looks like.
So right now we have plenty of options, and we are, now that we know the medallions, 3 items away from go mode, I believe? The bow, the hookshot, and the ether medallion.
Bow, hookshot, ether medallion. In terms of
and
item?
of course, Eastern Palace big key technically, because all dungeons.
Yeah. In terms of items, yes, those are the only 3 I think we need, except for maybe an invincibility item per laser bridge. But other than that, we of course are missing a handful of keys. A small handful, but it's still a handful.
Looking at this, if we use our keys, or if we can use our keys optimally, we're only missing the Eastern Palace big key, but Pika's here. Oh, there's the Desert Palace big key.
Yeah,
and we were missing that too.
Yeah.
True. But Pika's here, about to open up the front door of Palace Darkness here.
No, going around.
Going around. If he has a potion for this.
Yeah, so we're missing 1 Castle Tower small key. We're missing the Eastern Palace big key. We're also missing the Swamp big key, but we don't need that.
We just got a hint that the left side of Misery Maya is not particularly useful.
And that is a perfect setup here, I believe. Yes, broke the camera.
It's worth noting that most In fact, all applications of this glitch is considered a major glitch, except this one particular scenario, because you could achieve the same thing by hovering.
Yeah, it's basically a play on Uzuhiro's Ball Adventure, yes? Or at least it's somewhat similar.
In certain cases, yes. There's a whole lot of things that can cause your camera to dislodge, and the effects of it are quite severe. Usually it will cause you to be trapped within 4 super tiles, however.
Yeah, this game is well programmed, to say the least. We're only allowing stuff that doesn't, like, supremely break the game wide open.
We've been playing this game for the better part of 30 years now, and we have discovered new tech as recently as a few months ago.
Yeah. During the spring tournament, we discovered how to consistently set up the spooky action glitches, as it's known, for Misery Mire.
Yep, it's a fairly nice optimization because it gains, what, 10 seconds over not using it?
You would know that better than I. I've still yet to perform it myself.
I mean, I don't know what's behind the scenes there. It's actually incredibly obscure. But you can basically flip the switch in Misery Maya in the dark basement without ever entering that room. So that means you save 2 screen transitions and waiting for the bomb to bomb it open. That's pretty nice.
Oh, there's even a new overworld glitch discovered this summer? Wow, I didn't even know that.
Well, there's been a few major glitch developments as well. I'm just mostly avoiding going on a rant about those.
Well, we have the big key to Eastern Palace. Castle Terrace, and the bow is here too!
And the bow! Wow. Palace Darkness just having all the value. Now, with that, Pika is probably going to opt to skip the vanilla big key chest entirely to save the key. Oh no, because he's coming in from the right side, so now he doesn't need to open the front door if he wants to full clear this. And he won't, he is conscious of this fact. He can full clear Palace Darkness with his current keys.
That's right. And we did see a Naga Tower up there. I didn't see much value though. So we're missing the hookshot and the ether now. And in terms of keys, we're just missing the Castle Tower small key in terms of keys we absolutely need. Even though we have missing one big key to specifically the swamp, that one's not required to get to Argus. It's
swamp.
only
Go ahead.
It's only required really just to get to the big chest item.
Swamp is one of those dungeons that in vanilla are actually locked down tight by their own key and item layout. Specifically that in order to get to the backside you need the hookshot, which is in the big chest of Swamp. Now in Rando all of this breaks because we can usually just head to the back once we're in Swamp Palace. But there's only a small key door there because due to the lack of hookshot, you cannot misuse your keys in a way in the vanilla game to lock yourself out.
Hey! Pika can open the front door. Small key to pod in pod.
That is so cliche. It just happens every time. Although, I mean, it makes sense. There's 14 chests in here, 6 keys. The statistics add up.
Yeah, and with that, the entirety... No, the sea actually requires you to find all 6 keys.
It would anyway, because Helmsaur is logically locked behind 6, but it also required you to find all 6 keys without ever heading to the Bowlocked side, because the Dark Maze also requires 6 keys.
Yeah.
Zyrek is also going to depart here. I wonder if he has a potion to sequence break the right side. Because otherwise, I suppose he could still get to his bow with optimal key usage, and that is the most value you could get out of pod anyway, but it is worth noting that he only has 2 pod keys.
Well, unfortunately, he's gonna be down to another 10 rupees. Yeah, unfortunately, Kiki the monkey is a timid little thing. If you get hit, you have to go back and recollect him.
And when you recollect him, you push the area where the enemies are off your screen, which means the enemies respawn even if you kill them.
I don't think that's the case.
That, he definitely killed the hopping thing twice. I have no idea what it's called.
I believe it is a Ropa.
Today I learned.
Yeah, I've taken the point to study the enemy name database.
Oh, check correcting the enemies respawn if you don't collect their drop. Oh. That, in hindsight, makes sense, because bosses are also only considered dead once you collect their drop, or heart container in vanilla game.
And there's the boss down for Pikapals. Pretty clean and textbook fight against Helmsur King there.
Yep, that's his 4th boss down out of 12 plus the big pig, which is 13.
And Zyrek does have a potion. And also succeeds in breaking the camera.
Yep, and from here, the greatest value moving forward is to get to the back and get into the dark maze, because that hits the most chests, which means it's probably safe to assume he'll be collecting the bow as well.
So
Oh, go ahead.
So we have a question chat asking who's ahead right now. It really is hard to say. Pikapals has the lead in terms of crystals as well as keys, but Zyrek is not too far behind. It also has the advantage of having bombos, those which Pikapals lacks from Hookshot Cave.
Yep, it's usually very hard to judge in the middle of a race who's ahead until someone enters go mode. Consider this, Pika might have an extra dungeon finished and about to have 2 extra dungeons finished on Zyrek, but we know that the Bombos medallion is in an incredibly isolated spot for him. So he will not likely go there to collect it for quite a while, which could put Zyrek back ahead in this race.
You know, I actually misspoke a little bit earlier. How many smokies of Turtle Rock do we have?
Just the 1. We do need 2 more to get to Trimax, and a 3rd one to full clear everything.
Yeah, so we're still down a couple of extra small keys, actually.
Sometimes it's so hard to judge these things in Keys Handy. You know the bare minimum that you need, but it's easy to forget about things like small key.
Yeah, and blue pendant from Eastern Palace. So, looking here, it's either Swamp or Turtle Rock that is our other pendant. And it really depends on which one it is. But given our loadout and given that we're missing an item, it could be... it can go either way.
Yeah, we cannot full clear either of those dungeons right now, so we're gonna have to wait a bit before we actually see what's happening here. In terms of crystals and pendants, because for the back of Swamp we're missing Hookshot, and for Turtle Rock we're missing a couple of small keys.
Yeah. I'd say that Swamp is the play, though, because we can still get about half the items even without the Hookshot. And the Hookshot could be in there for all we know.
So one of the interesting things to consider about Swamp is I don't believe we've seen a hint that tells us what's on the left side yet. And clearing other dungeons just could help you work towards that particular hint, which could be very useful in the long run because the left side of the swamp is obviously really slow to clear.
Yeah. And while we do have a small break in the action here as runners are heading to new locations for them, and also that you mentioned slow, I do want to give a quick shout out to our tracker, Slowpoke316, who's been updating these items for you and keeping those keys tracked for us and keeping us relatively sane throughout this maze. So thank you to him.
Yep, our job would be pretty much impossible, especially in the key sanity seed, without a tracker who keeps paying attention for us for things that we might miss.
And of course, we are also on a Link to Vast randomizer here, which means we couldn't get this broadcast to you at the time and dedication of one of our restreamers. And today, that restreamer is Synax, so thank you to him as well. Oh, there was our last Palace of Dark. No, Pikapals already had that one. Never mind.
Yeah, and Zyrek finding it in a semi-convenient location still, because with that, he can go back and get the chests he missed, although we know that they won't be holding particularly much value. The eastern hint was the Cane of Burner is in Turtle Rock, to answer the question in chat.
And we have found all 4 swords there. Pikapals finally having the Master Sword in Blind's chest.
That does not count as a unique item, does it?
No, it counts as something sharp.
So that's one of the Hammerlock locations off of our list then.
What were we worried about for Hammerlock? Oh, the small key to swamp. Or the big key to swamp, which is... We don't really care about the big key to swamp, really.
Okay, I might be mildly confused. We did find a locked hint, but okay, that was the bomb locked, wasn't it?
Yeah.
My bad.
Oh, wait, no, the Ganstar... I think the hint we had was Ganstar big key requires a hammer. And we already found that.
Okay, check correcting me here. Big key to swamp was bomb blocked, and then the unique item requires a hammer is one of the hints that we got.
Ah, that's what we were missing.
Pika had a mild time advantage going into the Almost Nights that Zyrek does not have, since he hasn't cleared Ice Palace yet, which was the Silver Arrows. So from Zyrek we're going to be seeing a more NMG strategy.
Our other 2 swords I think were in Turtle Rock as well as Bombo's Tablet.
Graveyard Legend, but most tablet.
Oh, right. Guaranteed hint, right. I forgot.
It's all good. A lot happens in 73 minutes.
Yeah. It's hard enough to keep track of 216 items on your own, let alone doing it for 2 different runners.
I believe this is the first time we're checking Magic Bat, but it's just 10 bombs.
Yeah, the Uncle Bomb pack.
So at this point, Pika's actually checking fairly outlier locations. It's going to be interesting to see that either Lambo, as he is doing right now, will have some sort of progression, or We possibly somewhere missed a T-Rock Smoky, which would open quite a few locations within.
Yeah, the book was in the Turtle Rock map room, I believe. Was that a map or compass?
I have no idea. I just call it the roller room, and it was in there in the left side chest.
And Pika does know about the hint at Graveyard Ledge has a sword, but has not really decided to go over that direction, really.
I think at this point, I can agree with this play because it is extremely out of the way. Of course, you would have to pick up a Darkhold somewhere, which would mostly be Kakariko Village, and walk over and mirror, which is quite a time investment when you could otherwise stumble upon the fourth one. But of course, we know that that one is also fairly isolated in Bombo's tablet, so he might opt to go get it sometime later in the seed, before fighting Ganon, or when he feels like another sword won't be cropping up.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me, but we're about to see Helmsor King on Zyrek and Lamb Molas over on Pikapals. Double boss fights for you folks. And one of these is really fast compared to the other.
We will get a momentary synchronization though in picking up dungeon prizes.
Actually, I think Pikapals will have... Yeah, as the Crystal Falls, Pikapals gets a sword spin. So, this is going to put Pikapals over to the potion shop.
I think he just feels the need to stock up right now. The play that would make the most sense from where I'm standing right now would be to, as you said before, dip the front of Swamp Palace. It can't... It almost has to be something at this point. It either has to unlock more of Turtle Rock, or it has to unlock its own backside.
Yeah. Of course, the green pendant there from Desert could be our answer that we just didn't know about.
The green pendant was some cash. We got a hint of that.
All right, I forgot about that. It's easy to write off junk hints like that and just forget about their contents.
Now the good news for Pika is, since he's about to pick up the Bombos medallion, which will lead him directly to the book, is that since I'm assuming that his next play after this is going to be a Desperation Swamp play, he's very likely to check Bombo's tablet right before picking up his third sword.
Yeah, and going into... Oh, actually, Pikapals is not going to be entering Bombos to get the book. Or entering Turtle Rock.
Well, he can't yet because he hasn't picked up yet.
Yeah, so this will be Bombos for Pikapals right here. And immediately gotta check Turtle Rock with the one key that he has.
Chat pointing out that Zyrek did opt to skip the Chain Chomp chest, which he could have checked but did not. I don't know if that was an oversight from him or an intended play, but it could potentially be something.
If I had to guess, it was probably an intended play because at the time, Zyrek had not as much help and was on, I think, blue or even green mail at the time.
That's true.
And fire rotting Lamola's down, gets it nice and quickly done. And the Swamp Palace small key has been found, folks. As that's actually one of our first small keys in the entire run.
Yep, it was found within the first minute in Blind's Hut.
And that just made me think about something. What if our runners have not even thought of that key for a while because it was so early? Maybe they don't think they have it.
I mean, runners of their caliber probably know that they have the Front of Swamp as an option. But the Front of Swamp is never an appealing option.
Pikapals.
That's not gonna work. Does he have enough magic to do this backwards?
Yes. Even if the meter's not gonna be completely full, there is a full magic decanter in the pots right there next to the doorway.
Oh yeah, that's true. I was wondering if he could do this just on the ride.
One more shot.
Yes.
Got it. Just barely enough magic. Very nicely done.
The force of habit is a strong thing.
Yeah, this is where Zyrek mirrored out. Did not value going to the rest of the back. So we're about to see just how deep you could have gone in Turtle Rock, or if there's something else here. Meanwhile, Zyrek will be going to Ice Palace. We'll get the silver arrows eventually.
It's actually an interesting question because it could just be the hook shot, which I think Zyrek might end up beating himself up over. That would be huge, but it could also be a T-Rock Smoky, or it could be a single rupee.
Well, Zyrek is safe.
Absolutely.
That will not be a hindrance to him any longer. Pikapals gonna go ahead and check Ether Tablet now, it looks like. We know that's not anything important. And yeah, the play is hookshot in Swamp, it looks like. Either that or some more small keys for Turtle Rock.
Or the Ether Medallion to unlock Misery Mire and its 8 chests.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of items, but right now, all roads lead to Swamp. And I'm honestly surprised we've waited this long to check it.
I tend to agree there. I probably don't see the Hookshot Cave single chest play before Swamp, but there is a psychological element to Swamp in that you really don't want to not go mode. Pika collecting his 3 bombs from Spike Cave. A fair bit faster than Zyrek ended up doing.
Yes. Pile of Darkness is fully cleared out for, I think, both runners now. Pikapals will be now using the Master Sword here to go check Aga 1.
There is 2 chests that we know that didn't hold any sort of progression. I'm not exactly sure, but I think that both of the runners right now are on their last check, or last few checks remaining before Swamp.
Yeah.
They have to be converging very soon.
And it's not... And I don't blame them for skipping Swamp for so long without the hook shot. They want to finish that in one run. but it's realistic that half the items here are just gonna lock progression. And it's Kisana. You expect to do some double dips as well. Comes with the territory, I feel.
It's probably related to how slow the double dip is, because for Swamp, obviously every time you dip, you have to re-pull the dam. That means you have to mirror at least once, you have to take that mirror portal back, then you have to swim in. But on the other hand, like, T-Rock is similar in that climbing Death Mountain from even the old man to that side isn't that fast.
And this looks like it is indeed going to be the Swamp play for Pikapals, so we are finally going to get information here.
Not yet. He is going to K45 first, and he's going to pick up his sword from Bombo's tablet, I'm almost sure of this, and then he'll dip Swamp.
Yeah, and also check the shovel if he hasn't done so already. We can see that in his tracker.
Oh yeah, I believe... No, he was the one that picked up the Ganon's Tower map from that spot first.
Ah.
Or was it? I guess I'm mixing up the runners then. My bad.
Yeah. Pikapals is going to clean up South Darkworld, though.
It makes a whole lot of sense. You wouldn't want to have these stones left unturned and then find that hookshot was in one of these spots. One thing's for sure, things have definitely slowed down since the early onslaught of items that we found.
Yeah, and it looks like that this hookshot is indeed our curveball that I was alluding to earlier. This is the item that's essentially holding our runners back from just going back into full speed.
It's what's holding them back, but funnily enough, that hookshot could still be in Ganon's Tower if Swamp Palace turns out to be dependent.
Yeah, could be anywhere except Moldorm Chest at this point. We really need to check the map for confirmation whether or not Swamp is a pendant or a crystal, but no more second guessing. We're gonna dive straight in.
If it's your last option, you're probably going to dip. It would be somewhat useful information to them, but on the other hand, they still can't complete Misery Maya, so Ganon's Tower is not going to come into play for quite a while still.
And I just realized we could still have a pedestal alive. We could.
With the optimal layout or most suboptimal layout of items, yes, definitely.
If hookshot's here in Swamp, there's our guaranteed boots in. And it is their third pendant like I thought. Zyrek is our last crystal. So the hookshot's here, pedestal is available, and Ether could be there for Misery Mire access.
Wait, no. Hookshot can't be on pedestal because Swamp is a pendant.
That's what I'm saying. Swamp's in the dungeon. Or the hookshot's in Swamp, and Ether's on the pedestal.
Oh yeah, okay. Got it. It took me a while, but I got it. You're absolutely right. It could be there.
If we don't find hookshot in here, Pettis might as well be considered dead.
On the other hand, hookshot could be in Ganon's Tower, which could be similarly tasty.
That is true. So we're going to see what we got here. We already got 2 items. I missed which ones they were, or at least I forgot what they were already.
You know, going back and thinking about the hints, it's all but guaranteed that Rando Room has the big key to Swamp as well.
Speaking of...
That could lead to some interesting interaction.
Pikapals has a second key now for Turtle Rock.
That's the progression we've been looking for.
But is there more here? Pikapals is going to keep looking and find out. Zyrek, meanwhile, coming back into pod to finish up the last checks that he missed.
I'm sure he's incredibly happy to find that.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are not in GT mode until we have at least one more small key to Turtle Rock. And we're not in Go mode without the Hookshot Ether, as well as the second Agate Tower key on top of that.
Considering everything, the seed doesn't not only not require Aghanim, it's only giving you the option to kill him at a fairly late stage.
Yeah, and also I forgot about Ether for the TR thing, for the GT thing. Alright, chest 4. Alright, so Pikapals has to go back around. This is where things are going to slow down a little bit. This is the last check here, so Hookshot's not in here. The odds of this being pedestal just went from plausible to very low.
Zyrek's going back in the meantime to check the Chain Chomp chest that he missed in T-Rock.
Wait, he's got another key.
Does he?
Oh no, he never used it. Never mind.
He never used it, yeah.
Third small key to Turtle Rock. So the Hookshot's not in Swamp. But now we are just the Ether Medallion away from having GT access.
And this is just a decisive advantage for Pikapals at this point.
Yep. We are now Ether Medallion away from GT access, and we are a Hookshot and a Agate Tower small key on top of that away from Go mode. So 3 items.
Zyrek's pausing to look at his items. I'm not sure if he realizes that he needs to go to Swamp.
You'll see it right there. He has that one small key right there on D2. And yeah, he figured it out. At least I would hope so. And yeah,
Go ahead.
Sorry. But yeah, I think what I predict came true here is the Swamp Palace small key was so early. Zyrek completely forgot about it, as did Pikapals for a little bit.
I'd like to believe that he was just looking for other options. Although, he's still not headed to where he needs to be, so this is... unfortunately, every moment that he spends out of Swamp Palace is just going to widen the gap between the two races here.
Yeah. Zyrek was looking really good finding the boots early, but Pikapals just having the overall better sense of awareness, I feel, in regards to the seed. Zyrek's going to check the big chest of Thieves Town. He'll get his gold sword at least.
Yeah, but unfortunately the time investment to get that gold sword is probably not going to justify it.
No.
Chat's asking what's the advantage that Pikapals has now. It's 2 Turtle Rock small keys, and as far as we know, everything that Zyrek has access to has been checked. So the next piece of progression has to be in the back of Turtle Rock.
That's right. So Pikapals is foregoing the boss here, which makes sense because the boss is guaranteed 4 keys required.
But so is this chest, which may not be that good of a... I don't agree with this, to be honest. Because both of those item locations are locked behind 4 keys, but this way you do have to hunt down that 4th key.
Yeah. And we do know that the Cane of Burn is in here, so Laser Bridge is in logic if it's somewhere before then. And we still have Mimic Cave also to check as well. That is not counted for anything else in Turtle Rock.
So one of the ways that I can see right now that Zyrek could come back and get ahead would be if the 4th T-Rock key is in fact in Misery Maya. We're almost guaranteed to get access to Misery Maya from this T-Rock dip, but that 4th key could lead Pikapals to dip T-Rock an additional time, whereas Zyrek, if he goes straight to Trinex, would not have to come back to T-Rock.
There's the hook shot.
So that's...
Which means anything that is required for the rest of the seed, it could now potentially be on pedestal.
Absolutely. Which, in this seed, does not matter too much, because you have to clear Swamp Palace anyway.
Well, now, with the Easter Medallion as well from Pikapals in the big chest of Turtle Rock, the only thing that we are missing is the small key to Turtle Rock, which is very unlikely, and the small key to Agate Tower, which is just as unlikely. The pet is basically now on life support. And you are expected to have the cape going up through Laser Bridge, because that is where Cane of Burn is.
Or you... Oh no, yeah, you absolutely have to have the cape, because you cannot beat Aghanim at this point in time.
Yeah.
Unless the other Castle Tower small key is in Misery Maya along with the 3rd shield.
That is correct. But regardless, there is another means of invincibility besides the cane that is required for Laser Bridge logic. The Pikapals is just gonna skip all the lasers. 2 heart pieces. And Zyrek is just stuck. There's the blue cane.
Are we going to get a vanilla T-Rock Smokey?
That'd be amazing.
He really needs it at this point.
Mushroom!
Wow. Zyrek, in the meantime, not particularly heading to Swamp yet. I think you may end up being right here, and he could have forgotten about that Smokey altogether. He's flying to 4. Maybe he's finally commit. Oh yes, he's definitely headed there.
I think that pull there was just like, oh, I think that pull there was a moment of realization of, I could have ended this already.
So now that we know that the 4th T-Rock Smokey is not within T-Rock, this could wind up being a very close race if Zyrek decides to go directly to Trinex.
Well, yeah, but the way Pikapals is set up here... Wait.
He's opting to clear Swamp first.
That makes sense. You still have 4 items left in there. If you can find your remaining go mode, you can just go... You can skip straight to the Vitreous.
Yeah, this makes a whole lot of sense, because, as you said, you can not only skip straight to Vitreous, you actually have less, well, searching time against her, right? Because you definitely don't have to find a Castle Tower Smokey anymore if it's in the back of Swamp. Whereas the back of Swamp, the 4 chests, or the 4 item locations to be specific, are extremely on the way. You do need to do this.
Yeah. Another Smoky Dice for Zyrek. Which was already full cleared, so we don't really care. So we're going to be abandoning an item in the big chest, but at this point it can not really be anything worthwhile except for maybe the Agate Tower or small key.
And it could very well be that. Behind the Rando room. Swamp Palace big key.
Yeah, and given that we've checked pretty much all the other bomb lock locations, it's most likely in Ganon Tower at this point.
Another pitfall that Zyrek could get himself into here, if he's feeling behind, and honestly at 100 minutes who would not be, is if he picks up that T-Rock small key here and assumes that that's where he needs to go and opts to skip the left side of the swamp.
Not too happy about that key though.
He knew that's where he needed to go, he just did not have the means to open the doors. Fortunately, he does continue and so on, so if he makes all the correct decisions from here on out, again, this could...
Ladies and gentlemen, with that Turtle Rock small key found by Pikapals, Pikapals can now enter Ganon's Tower. We are still missing, however, the Castle Tower small key number 2 for the go mode of this seed.
Yep. And that's 3 T-Rock small keys in Swamp Palace.
They really wanted you to go here, and the seed forced you to double dip as well. Both dungeons. Not exactly clean, kind of the seed to do that.
Logically, you could have avoided one of them. And in fact, Pika is going to triple dip T-Rock because of his use of the keys. It's also,
that is true.
It's also possible that it's just muscle memory, that you will open that door from running energy vanilla, because of course that's where the T-Rock big key is in the vanilla game. I've heard multiple people in the Key Sanity tournament just highlight that. They always open that door, even when it's disadvantageous due to that.
So, here's the good news. Pikapals only needs to find the Castle Tower small key to finish the seed. Bad news is, it can be literally anywhere in the game. Because Aga Tower is not locking anything behind it other than the goal of the seed.
That is correct. Any of the chests that we haven't seen, chests, item locations, whatever, pedestal, is possibly the location that holds the Castle Tower small key in this.
And yeah, there's of course some locations like Lumberjack, which we've already checked with our eyes, but any check that we haven't seen yet could be the Castle Tower small key.
At this point in time, the name of the game is efficiency. You just want the most chests on the least amount of time, because it is a true, literally anywhere item.
Yeah. So we'll see where it turns up here, folks, as Pikapals is looking to clear crystal number 6 here, as well as try to hopefully find the Castle Tower key. Maybe it's on the way to the boss. Maybe it's on a boss. We don't know. For all we know, it could be in Ganon's Tower, locked away just behind the Ice Armos.
One thing that we do know is that the left side of Misery Maya, the fire lock section, has, I believe, a Skullwood small key and a compass?
So not required.
Not required, and that cuts out a lot of time, because that cutscene chest is very slow to check.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't even think there's a hint for Castle Tower's small key in the pool that is guaranteed, so going to the right side just for the hint isn't even an issue. And that is something you have to consider, because that hint is available even without the cutscene activation.
One of the things that we do know is that we haven't seen a hint for the left side of Swamp. So with that, you already know that there's at least one hint in the pool. That, okay, there it is.
No, that's Dark Palace small key.
And at this point in time, the bow is in logic, because it was locked behind all 60s. So yeah, just the fact that you know that there's at least one hint in the pool might be a strong discouragement from taking several screen transitions and then several screen transitions back. That check.
Alright, so Pikapals is now going to head over to Vitreous, having checked all the items that he knows about in this scene. So, really, the only thing left is Ganon's Tower for the Agatar key.
Or the big chest of swamp.
Well, we know where the big key is. It's pretty much in Ganon's Tower at this point, so either way, we'll be finding it.
And of course, I don't believe we had a pet check, so there's that, which is kind of independent.
Third try spooky action glitch, very nicely done by Pikapals. It's one of those that is kind of weird to explain, but basically you're skewing your Fire Rod's hitbox so that it can hit an off-screen switch.
I do know that something called ancillaries are involved.
Gesundheit?
Thank you. Well, it's not here. So, it's most likely in Ganon's Tower then. Which is perfectly fine. Well, is it perfectly fine though? Because otherwise you could skip the entire basement, considering you have the 2 small keys and the big key.
Yeah, well, in this case, it could be on Trinex. We haven't actually got Trinex's item yet.
True, and we also haven't seen Pyramid Fairy.
Yeah. But in the meantime, Zyrek just has Hookshot and Ether. And we haven't seen Pyramid Fairy because, well, we just now got the 5-6.
Yeah, that's probably a very big part of it. Just based on sheer numbers, though, I mean, you do have to do Trinex at this point, and then you're probably going to be hitting Ganon's Tower first, because, I mean, you need to be there, and you are getting 4 chests per room for the most part, even though there's some traversal between. So it's the optimal play, but, of course, Pyramid Fairy is definitely a good check that you could do, considering it just unlocked. Zyrek did skip the vanilla Vicky chest, so that means he does not have to do the same extra dip into T-Rock that Pikapals had to do. Unfortunately, he's still quite a bit of time to make up, but it's definitely not impossible for him to come out ahead in this season. So the question in chat, I do not believe that the mushroom has been turned in. Pika did pick up that mushroom and then headed straight to Mystery Map. Oh, okay. Mushroom was checked. My bad. Oh, Zyrek attempted to do a very nice zero cycle on Trinex, but that is very precise. You must not walk into Trinex there.
Yeah.
It does look like we have some stream issues there, so in the meantime, Pikapals is headed back into T-Rock. All he has to do is get to the back and beat Trinex.
That's correct. Zyrek has most likely finished Trinex off by now.
Yep, I have no doubts that with Gold Sword, we've killed the big turtle.
Well, in the meantime, let's get you guys Pikapals audio here. As Pikapals is about to go to the Trinex fight, and we'll hopefully get Zyrek back to you guys, for you guys.
Alright, Pika's heading into the Trinex fight right now. Now, with no gold sword, you cannot do the zero recycle strats. You will always get one of the neck extension attacks from Trinex no matter what you do, but a very nice, probably single attack kill there. Single cycle.
Yeah. Unfortunately, not a good position to get the quick kill on phase 2, but there we go.
A small key, but not the small key you're looking for. So at this point in time, we will be entering Ganon's Tower, where there are usually 22 item locations that could hold the big key. Now we have that big key, so if you were preparing to play the guessing game and guess 0, congratulations, you win. We could, in fact, play the Castle Tower small key guessing game instead.
Yeah.
Unofficially.
Yeah, we're gonna play... You know what? Yeah, let's play the Castle Tower game just for fun here. Where do you think it's gonna be?
So for me, I'd like to say the less checked Ganon's Tower big chest, which I believe is going to be number 23, but that could potentially depend.
Well, there's half magic as our first item. I'm gonna say it's I want to say it's behind ice armors. I want to see all bosses this seed. Let's go.
Now, of course, you can also guess it's not here, and it's instead in Swampwood Pyramid Ferry. Chest number 2 and 3, just big 20.5 piece. Something that would have been nice in the early portions of this season.
That's right.
We are up to chest number 5, but no small key yet. That could also have it.
I completely forgot we didn't have that.
Yeah, this is the part of that the Old Dungeons Key Sanity Seed where the skeletons start coming out of the closet. Just all the things that you couldn't do in the seed in isolated locations just coming up.
And there's Quake.
In this seed, a truly useless medallion.
Well, it would have been nice on the Penguins, but yeah. Hey, there's our fire shield. And there's the big swamp as we knew it was supposed to be. Castle Tower, Smokey, there it is!
So at 1 hour and 54 minutes, Pikapals has finally entered true go mode.
That's right. And what a go mode it is. Climb the tower, fight Ganon, and go. Or fight Agas and go. So yes, looks like we have unfortunately lost Zyrek's stream due to technical issues on his part. which is unfortunate. We'll invite him to an interview after we see Pikapals finish, if he is interested.
Yep. In the meantime, Pika is going to climb Ganon's tower, defeat Aga 2, and then go fight his less evil twin, Aga 1, followed by a fight with the Big Pig.
Yeah, this point it is Pikapals' race to lose. We knew Zyrek was a couple of dungeons behind. Finding the Agatar small key right here is pretty much the nail in the coffin for him, even though we cannot see him anymore. Which means with this loss, Zyrek will be now 5-6. And so his best potential record is 9-6, which means he is unable to climb his way to a bracket position.
Yep, even in the event that the other two racers who are currently in a 9-5 position lose their race, the tie-breaking record for them is going to be better. That means he won't be able to get, unfortunately, out of his group.
Yeah. Pikapals, however, will be locked in with a final score of 10-5 in the group, which is not unbeatable considering, once again, that there is a 3-8 tie between himself, GFE, and Bonta, proceeding this race to this conclusion.
GFE says in chat that Zyrek is not completely out yet. And I don't know if that's correct, but even if it isn't, Zyrek can potentially have a very big effect on the group, depending on who he beats in the remaining matches.
It says that if I wasn't aware of the remaining matches here, but yeah.
I believe Zyrek still has an upcoming match with Bonta, which could potentially decide Bonta's fate.
Some question is, someone has names correct through. They usually dropped out because they knew at this point that all of their remaining scores cannot be is enough to advance. Nice full heal before the Aga 2 fight. Alright, it's time for geometry now on Agadum 2. Nice double to start us off here for Pikapals. Not a good position though for the second one. Gonna be a single.
Extremely unfriendly pattern, and yet he gets one in. It's pretty good.
Another blue ball there, unfortunately.
Aga 2 is not cooperating with these positionings.
But gets another double to wrap it up, so 2-1-1-2 as we now go. Well, there would be time to fight the pig, but remember, folks, the goal of this seed is all dungeons. In order for us to fight Ganon proper, we need to collect all the pendants, all the crystals, defeat Aga 2, and defeat Aga 1. Aga 1 is next on Pikapals' hit list. And once he defeats that, Ganon will be vulnerable in Phase 4, and we can fight him properly.
At this point, feel free to get your predictions in on the number of blue balls that we will see from Aga 1. Remember, if we see at least 3 blue balls, that means we are going to have to do an additional cycle, and starting there, another 3 for each additional cycle.
So yes, folks, how the defeat Ganon goal normally works is you normally just collect all the 7 crystals, you defeat Aga 2, and then you fight Ganon normally. Well, when any other goal that has a little extra extension to it, like in this case, all dungeons is the simplest example. If you do not have your goal met, which in this case is all dungeons, Ganon is invulnerable in Phase 4 and actually taunts you for not finishing your goal instead of telling you where the silver arrows are.
Yep, he won't even tell you where they are.
And he won't even drop his usual random little message at the start of the match. He'll just say, "What are you doing here? You haven't finished your tasks yet, you fool." Or something along those lines.
I believe that he calls you specifically a dingus.
I didn't remember. It's been a long time since I've seen the, you haven't finished your goal message from him.
Yep, and as you correctly pointed out, the reason this does not come up too often is because in the usual seed you cannot even access Ganon without having completed your goal. But things like entrance randomizers and things like alternative goals can change that massively.
That Garfield forever be stuck on that edge, about to teeter off into the abyss. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Aga 1. You've been getting your guess in chat, but it's time for us to guess. Baliame, what do you think?
Well, I am feeling in a good mood. I think Pikapals deserves a 2. And so does Zyrek.
I think it's going to be a box standard 3.
3 is the worst. It's not 4 to just, you know, completely be like more. It's just enough to kill your hope for the fastest fight. But there's 2 normal shots. One was of course guaranteed, and there's the first blue ball.
It is for Aga 1, the first shot is guaranteed in this cycle, and then he has a 50% shot chance of shooting an orange shot or a blue shot. These are seeded between the runners for fairness. So they get the same pattern every time. And then on the pivot attack, he shoots lightning, after which the pattern repeats. So, at most, if you don't miss a single red shot, you can get 15 blue balls. If you're incredibly unlucky for that.
I believe that it has been calculated that 15 is pretty much mathematically impossible. We will not see such a seed in our lifetime.
Unless we can somehow figure out how to set the RNG seeding in Customizer, and then everything's gonna go out the window.
Oh yes, of course. That was number 5, so this is definitely a unfriendly Aga. Number 6?
And down goes Aga 1, and with that defeated, it is now time to fight the pig with the goal now met. Tempered sword and silver arrows in hand, it'll be 12 slashes or 6 spins in the first 2 phases, the Trident phase and the Fire Shield phase. After which we enter the Fire Spiral and Ground Pound phase, in which Ganon will teleport randomly. Those are also seeded for fairness. This on each instance of Ganon you fight.
Pika goes for the 1+1, but unfortunately misses the first one. I believe by a single swing.
Yes. After we get 4 attacks in, as Ganon stops teleporting in Phase 3, we move on to Phase 4, the Darkness technique. Keep the torches lit. Ganon will try to shoot a fireball after each teleport, and then you just stun him with a sword with the lights on and hit him with 4 silver arrows. An alternative option is, of course, the glitch known as Silverless, in which we can hit him with a spin attack or just a normal slash after he teleports away, or just after he begins teleporting. It is 3 spin attacks per missed silver arrow if Pikapals were to go that direction.
With that swing, we are on to Phase 4.
And yes, we did find the ice arrows, Ganon. Here, have one.
Gets the Fire Rod Torch glitch, which is a very nice thing, and a triple to finish off Ganon. Amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, get your GGs in chat for Pikapals, the winner of this race. He will be going to 10-5 officially now. And yes, as a result of this, Zyrek has officially, and in the interest of time, Zyrek has forfeited. So we'll get them in both in here for an interview.
GG to both of them.
All right. Let's see if they both want to come in. Zyrek is actually waiting for us. As is Pikapals. Let's pull them both in, shall we? GG's and welcome Zyrek and Pikapals. I am sad to tell. I'm disappointed in what happened to you, Zyrek. Unfortunately.
Hi, it did.
Yeah.
It didn't affect the outcome. The race was already over when the crash happened. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
You did have a fairly good shot at catching up. Pikapals, of course, opened the door leading to the Vanilla Bicky chest in Turtle Rock, and at that point he had to dip back in, which could have gotten you the ability right there to catch up.
Yeah, I don't know. What was the last of me that you guys saw before the race?
You were fighting Trinex.
Ah, okay. Yeah, so you saw the like 4 trips to Turtle Rock. So, and that all happened because I mismarked my tracker with the small key for TR. So that's why that started in the first place.
Yeah. Did you forget about the Swamp Palace small key at any point, or was that the one you mismarked?
No, I thought I had a small key for TR. So the first time that I went back up there, I thought I was going to be able to get to Laser Bridge at least, and I was surprised when I tried to open the door behind the chain chomps and I couldn't.
Ah, well, once again, GG to you, Pikapals, as well. You won this race. You're now 10-5, locked in as one of the tight spots to beat now. But the group behind you is pretty tightly packed.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's pretty much up to however Bonta's and GFE's match goes. And I think Tistu might still have a shot, but I don't remember on him.
Yeah.
But yeah, it all comes down to that, whether or not there's a big tiebreaker that happens.
Yeah, and it's pretty slim odds for you, Zyrek, but there is still a slim chance that you can come back here for a tiebreaker.
Yeah, I need Bonta and GFE to both lose. I need to win out, I think, basically. Something like that.
Yeah, so this was one of your best chances to get a little bit of a better positioning in that situation, but unfortunately it didn't happen. But hey, that's Randomizer for you. Sometimes it happens. But to your credit, you did get the boots early. Compared to Pikapals.
We predicted that could hold a huge advantage for you, because you did, in fact, collect it 30 minutes before Pikapals did. Unfortunately, it didn't end up mattering too much, but yeah, that was definitely one of the best things that could have come from that.
Yeah, I don't know about you, Pika, how you felt. I felt like the seed was going great for me for about the first hour and 20 minutes or so, and then I felt like things started unraveling. That's basically how it felt. I don't know how it played out for you.
Yeah, I felt like the seed itself wasn't going too badly. Like, I took a while getting up Death Mountain, where apparently literally everything was, but I was a little worried because I felt like I wasn't playing my best, and I made a few dumb mistakes, like opening that Turtle Rock door.
Yeah, and we never found the intended progression on Turtle Rock's Laser Bridge, which, given the 5-6, is probably the cape at the Pyramid Ferry, because that's the only thing we were missing.
You guys didn't. Once I knew that I was behind, wouldn't have seen this because of the crash, but once I knew I was behind, I basically was gambling that the last Aghanim's Tower key was not in Ganon's Tower, that it was somewhere else that Pika wouldn't be checking in go mode. The other Turtle Rock key was... it was somewhere on the overworlds.
It was 3 of the Turtle Rock small keys were actually in Swamp.
Yeah, there was another one out in the overworld somewhere, because I checked the center test before I went to GT.
Yeah, I think I found that Turtle Rock key somewhat early. It was just that I never found the cape or the mirror shield, I think.
Cape was right side GT.
Okay, that's where it was. Which, I think there was another shield in...
That was also in Ganon's Tower.
Yeah, you weren't supposed to go to Laser Bridge this seed.
I mean, it
Guess
makes
not.
a whole lot of sense in hindsight, right? Because there was nothing there.
Yeah, just the Cane of Burna, really.
It was such a nice cane, though.
Yeah. It was just a little too late is all.
It's the second best cane in the game.
Yeah. So, Pikapals, I have to ask you this. You got the hint for the something sharp above the pose. Did you not bother going for that sword at all, or did you just forget about it?
I was considering it for a long time. I just didn't want to make the trip up there. And eventually, I found the Master Sword. I was like, okay, I don't need to bother going up there for a while. I'll go up before Ganon or something. And then I found Tempered and I was like, oh, I don't care anymore.
Yeah, we were theorizing that you would probably collect that if you felt like you're in a pinch, because it was 2 very out-of-the-way locations, with Bombo's Tablet and Graveyard Ledge being those ones, but yeah, you then ended up picking up the book from T-Rock.
Yeah. Like, I was considering grabbing the Graveyard Ledge sword, like, after Thieves Town, but then the Master Sword was there, so I figured I could put it off even longer. And then Bombo's Tablet happened because Swamp was annoying. You had to go in there without the hook shot so you could get 1,000,000 Turtle Rock small keys, and then come back with the book anyway.
I guess that's another interesting question. Is both of you decided to put off Swamp Palace for a very, very, very long time? Did you not at any point when you were down to basically scraps in the overworld feel like that should be the play and you're just procrastinating?
Yeah, I procrastinated a bit. I was at least partially thinking that I knew that there were 2 good items behind Hammer, because the GT Big Key was one, and there was a unique item somewhere. And I figured I'll just go check all the Hammer stuff. So I did Thieves, did Hammer Pegs, and then did Spike Cave, but found the Turtle Rock Medallion around the same time and ventured into there. And then I put it off because I felt like doing Aghanim instead.
Yeah, well, GGG Pikapals, you've locked yourself in as one of the top seeds. You're not safe just yet, but it's looking pretty good for you. And Zyrek, good luck in your last couple of matches. It is here. You need to pull off a miracle in order to have a shot at brackets, but you should be able to do well.
Yeah, when I joined the tournament, like, I joined the tournament virtually last second, and when I joined it, I mean, the reason why I wasn't going to is because there's a few of the variations that I don't play a lot of, and I'm not a particularly huge fan of when it comes to racing them. So I didn't getting into groups, like, I didn't expect to come out. And this Group H is an absolute bloodbath. Like, we've talked about it in our group chat a few times. Like, the depth of talent from 1 to 6 is pretty astronomical. So even if I can come out of here somewhere around 500, I'll consider that a victory.
Yes, well, once again, GGG both. Make sure to give these 2 a follow here on Twitch. They put on excellent race for us tonight. Need all things aside. While you're at it, make sure to give my co-commentator Badiame a follow, our tracker Slowpoke, and our regioner Synac. And make sure to also follow Link to Best Randomizer. and a Link to Best Randomizer 2 through 5 to keep track of all the Link to Best Randomizer action. We also host these tournaments on Speed Gaming, so make sure to follow Speed Gaming and Speed Gaming 2 through 6 as well. And also, we also have a Spanish restream, we have a German restream, and a French restream over on Speed Gaming. And one of those matches for us later tonight, actually, at 5:30 p.m. on SG Francis, Rywek versus VB. So, if you can want to listen to some French commentary and watch two great runners go at it, there you go. There's a match for you. As far as other matches on the schedule today, we do not have any scheduled at this time for today, except for at 6:30 we have Speed Gaming 4. We will have Brewers Fan JP versus Chloe Power, and at 8:30 we will have Aaron Dovey and BB on Speed Gaming 5. And of course, stay tuned into the schedule for any matches we might want to add today to this race.
Yep, and you're being humble there, but be sure to follow my co-commentator, Wolflink0370.
Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and close it out here. So from all of us here at Link to Best Randomizer, I have been Wolflink. We'll see you all next time, and thank you for watching. Have a good night, everyone.
I have been Baliame. Thank you for watching.